performance. It's absolutely it's amazing. We have the ultimate platform, the combination of HGI and our leadership, and then also the combination of that with the great integrity story. It's life changing, and it is a platform unlike any other. The other is talking about the dire need that's in today's world. I want you to think about what we do is so important, is so amazingly important what we do. And if what happened is that people are up against a wall, and the longer they wait, the more desperation they get. And it's crazy. It's like sometimes somebody needs your help, but they won't take your help. And I know it feels that way, guys. But what we do is right for people. You'll see that today more than ever. These are amazing concepts and principles. Everybody has to learn. We have people on this call from 18 years old to 70 years old. It does not matter. You need to know these great principles, and I'm honored and think it's phenomenal the great things that we take to people. So we're going to start today hearing from one of our great partners, Tim O'Rourke, giving us an update on what's going on in the world. This is our economic moment. So get ready to write a few notes. And today's note-taking day, guys. When you come here on Wednesday, you're here to learn. You're here to grow. Get better, get better, get better. That is the message. Always be growing, and this is your day to grow. So, Tim, we'll turn it over to you. You're on mute, Tim.
Thanks. Got it. All right. Thanks. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you are. Couple good things going on. Actually, in the markets, as you all know, we're kind of everything's rolling. We're at the peak of actually the market performance. All the indexes are at record highs. This is also concerning too. At the same time, I think a lot of portfolios have done very good over this last year in 2023, and also the first start of 2024. One of the interesting implications of that are like these AI stocks. So if you look at NVIDIA, everybody's heard of NVIDIA probably. Its performance is unbelievable. In fact, I was just pulling up some records on it. Just in the last 5 days, it's up 107%. In the last year, it was up 550%. So when a stock moves like that, it keeps coming out with new information as far as the earnings, because the earnings are always going to drive the value of what an equity goes to. And so when you have that kind of drive behind a stock like that, it lifts all the boats in the market pretty much. So you're starting to see that kind of have its effect. But also, if you go back in time, back to 1972, take a little history here. Some of you may not even been born yet, but I remember the market was very much at its peak back then too, right before it fell about 65%. And so, there's a hysteria almost going on. There's an emotional part to a market that it's a feeding frenzy, because most of the market is driven by individual investors, either through brokerage houses or they invest, obviously through Schwab or other online platforms. But we're at that point now where I think, I've been preaching this because I not only follow Dietrich, but I also follow a number of other economists, and they're starting to ring the bell a lot right now. We still have inflation that, the Fed isn't going to drop rates here, I don't think, anytime in the next foreseeable 90 days, 120 days. And so we got this tightening still of the monetary policy. And then we got this huge debt that's going on. And the credit card side, as I mentioned, I think previous weeks were over almost $1.2 trillion in credit card debt. And those rates are an average around 21%. So when you have that kind of debt, it's gonna cause more constriction. Oil prices remain high. If you got those attacks by those extremists in around the Middle East there, in fact, they've got a vessel out there right now that has been abandoned and it's leaking oil. And so there's all kinds of problems going on. One thing I wanted to point out that I think is really interesting is, and I wrote this in my newsletter this morning, that Berkshire Hathaway, just over the last year and a half, has had a net liquidation of around $39 billion. That's 39 with a B. So when when they invest money, they usually go into a big position like they invested in Occidental Petroleum, they invested in Coca-Cola, invested in a number of other big positions in big companies, and they're always out there investing their cash. Well, now they're actually building up their cash, account because they think that something's going on. So when you see $39 billion from an organization like that go into their cash coffers versus what they're investing, they're sending a message. Jeff Bezos also, he just sold about $8 billion. The first time he's ever sold stock in Amazon. He sold $8 billion just recently and liquidated his stock. This is the first time in history. And then you got Mark Zuckerberg. He also sold $1 billion of Facebook. The Walton Family Trust just sold several billion in Walmart stock. So these are subtle messages that big investors, people who really can move markets, they're sending a message out that they think that we're going to have a correction. And because of the way the market has gone up so quick, you're going to see a pretty good fall. And I'm going to go back to preaching something here that I have in the past because I think it's important to reinforce it. That the products that we have that floor base, and yet you can participate in the markets through them, it's a game changer. I mean, it gives you the ability to go out and help people in a way that no one's in the middle market, in Main Street America. I don't think anybody's out there doing that with people and trying to educate them. So the more information you know, that's why I'm giving you this kind of data. The more information you know, I think it's going to help you be more confident in what you're doing. I'm going to leave you with a quick quote, and then I'll turn you on, Jody. A friend of mine said this. I'm part of the Magic Wand Foundation. I'm on their board, or was on their board. I just got off, and it's an empowerment group for kids. And he said, in the moment of adversity, your dream must be bigger than the challenge. That is what gives you courage to persist. And so that's what I challenged everybody on here is your dream big enough? I think you got to make it bigger. Back to you, Jody.
Well, I love it, guys. And let me tell you, some of you are new, and obviously we're in the money business, and you come on Wednesday and you hear Tim. I want to tell you the purpose of this. It's just what he said, is to build confidence. First few times you hear some of this, if this is not where you've been, it may be new to you, but here's what's going to happen. You're going to start to sound smart. You're going to start to sound intelligent. You're going to be able to pick up a few things in some conversations that before you didn't know what they were talking about. And that's important. I mean, it really is. You need to be aware. You need to know what's going on in the world. And matter of fact, the information that you just got, many people, including Tim, could charge for it and send it out in a paid newsletter and make money off of it monthly. And you're getting that information right here. I think it's great value add. We're making you a better person yourself. We're making you a better business person, but also it gives you a better perspective in your own life. So great information, exciting times. And, all those guys, I was thinking about this, Bezos and Zuckerberg, go back and remember, hey, they started in places just like you and had dreams, but here you can go make this happen. It's duplicatable, and that makes my heart feel good. So, a couple of other things as we get into this. You're going to hear from Zach.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, by Tim. Thanks. But then you're going to have Zach in just a couple of minutes. He's going to come on and give his presentation that's our version of the XCurve and the Brother A, Brother B, Unqualified Me, which is going to be phenomenal for all of you. Company's exploding. I've been very blessed to go all over the country. Was in New York and New Jersey the last a couple of days, and it was just amazing to watch these people come from all cultures, from all backgrounds, all over, coming from different areas of the United States, and then have come from different parts of the world that are absolutely loving this. They're all coming in and loving the system. Some of them come to us through referrals, some to us through natural markets. Many of them come to us through technology. People are looking, people are ready to go, and this is the ultimate story. This is the ultimate one-stop shop. Okay. My thought for today is this. Right before this call, I was on a great phone call with Gina, one of our new up-and-coming superstars, and she and I were talking to this gentleman. And there's so many people out here like this. This guy just wants to win. got a great heart, wants to spend more time with his family, left corporate America and went over and worked. This guy's story was he was with Primerica. He went way over to the team building, the extreme team building side, and with one product, basically. But ultimately realized that he wanted a different platform, swung all the way to the other end and went into the personal production side because he thought that was better. But now, when I talked to him, I said, look, imagine if you took the best of both those worlds, pulled them together in one spot. Wouldn't that be amazing? And I want you to think about this. Everybody is looking, usually they have a job, so that's their stability. They'll go have one business that provides them some extra money, whether it's Uber, they'll go wait at a restaurant, whatever. They'll go do what they got to do to make a little extra money. So they got their extra money opportunity. They got their stable opportunity. Then they've got dream to be able to go make $300,000 or $400,000 a year to be able to have some oxygen, to be able to really get ahead and do some nice things. And then they're looking for a residual piece, so they'll go join, some network marketing opportunity, or then they're looking for some equity opportunity they're looking for something big. What if you could just draw a circle around that and do all those in one place? That's what HCI is. It's their permanent. It's also their extra money. It's also, their opportunity to create residual income, and it's their opportunity to create a $300,000 or $400,000 income with 5 or 6 good people, and then ultimately this amazing equity opportunity. So all of it in one place. So that excites me. So right now we're going to talk about some things that are going on in the annuity marketplace, and it's exciting. It's serving a big need in today's world of instability, and we got a lot of people on the team that's moving a lot of money. We had over $2 million that was rolled just off of the people on this screen in the last few days. So, Kimberly, if you want to lead that conversation.
With it, you did. That was F&G, right?
Let's start. Yeah, absolutely. So let me scoot over here in your screen. I think definitely, like Tim said, the conversation right now is to safety, right? We see all of the risk out there, and we see what's happening with the market. And yes, it's done really well, but it's overvalued, and we hear all the economists talking. And so I think that having the index annuities at our fingertips is a really important piece. I also think it's really important to understand, because a lot of these, first of all, you have to understand conceptually what that is, right? It allows you to put money in to this policy, to this product, right? It's going to guarantee that floor, and it's going to give you the ability to track the upswings of the market. And every year or two, depending on your crediting method, you get to lock in your gains. So there's a lot of benefit to that, especially if people are close to retirement, especially if people have their lump sum that they cannot afford to have at risk. It's a big deal, right? So I think there's a big talk about it right now in the marketplace. There's a big push for it. There's a big push for safety. I think if you are listening to the world, and we saw Paul's thing from Business Insider last week, like we know, or at least everybody anticipates that we're going to have a recession. And we also know that when does 50% cost you 100%, right? That financial concept that we talk about. If you have $100 in the market and you lose 50%, you're down at $50. And most people think that in order to get back up to that $100, they've got to earn 50%. But 50% of $50 is only $25, right? So that would only put you back at 75. So in order to recover from a 50% loss, you have to make 100%. Not saying we're going into a 50% loss type market, but conceptually understanding if you don't have that loss to overcome, you start out on a better foot as the market goes forward. So the big piece that I want you to know, and I'm actually going to make Zach explain it because I did a few weeks ago, but we have some people on our team. We were talking the other day about the differences in the bonuses, right? Because all of these products have some pretty fantastic bonuses. F&G has one that has a 15% bonus on your money. And Nationwide has one that has a 30% bonus on your income. And the other day when we were having this conversation, everybody understood and we're all good. And we talked about it on the Zoom. And then it was like, I thought I understood, but I really don't understand because I can't articulate it. When somebody was like, well, how does that work? I was like, I don't know. So the purpose of this conversation is to kind of recap that. I'm gonna make Zach do it because his words are different than mine. So you've heard my version of it a few weeks ago. So he can kind of explain the difference between bonus on your money or bonus on your income. And maybe you guys get that clearly, and then you can do your XCurve magic.
Well, yeah, so I'll bring in a few things that have been said so far and kind of try to tie a bow on that. Number one, Tim talks about Nvidia, and they're up over 500% last year, up over 100% year to date. That's 600% that if you don't own Nvidia stock or participate in an index that they're a part of, you don't benefit from. So the indexes that we're talking about and the annuities that we're talking about, you don't have to go out and buy Nvidia stock, but they're part of and pushing indices that you can choose, right? So from that perspective, know that the indexed annuities, the IULs, have the ability to, like Kimberly said, absolutely guarantee against loss, but give you the potential to follow and track an index that has companies like that in it. The market's way up. Everything that we've been talking about for years, or for the last couple of years anyway, show that it shouldn't be. There's a lot of artificial money that went in and it's still there. We don't really know what's going on. If you don't read Paul's commentary, you should do that. I think that if you subscribe to it, you should be able to get it, or from HGI sends it out. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on that we don't know. Even economists have said they don't know what's coming next. It doesn't make sense that we see a big drop, but there's a big difference between the market and the economy. And I think that that's one of the things that we talk about all the time is the stock market is only important for the people that own those stocks or that are following those stocks, or that it's not about the economy. What we do on an economy of scale is we deal with everyone's personal economy. How is their life working? What do they have coming in? Is it more than they have going out? And that's where HGI solves the problem. We don't solve the problem of the stock market. We solve the problem of the individual economies and the houses that we sit down with. One of the tools we use for that are the index annuities. When you see the market go down, market's going up. I mean, it's been this way multiple times in our career, and we've been doing it for over 20 years now, but we've seen the market go up where you could throw a dartboard at the ticker tape and hit a symbol and you were going to win, right? It was that simple. So everybody was getting in the business and it was shooting through the roof, and I know the VUL story with the Janus funds that we talked about before back in the WMA days. VULs were going like crazy, and then all of a sudden they weren't, right? When the market took a turn. The difference between that and an IUL is the variable part. It's not variable, it's fixed. The floor is guaranteed to never go below. So understand that about the annuities and about the IULs is that when you have those fixed indexed annuities and you have the indexed universal life, you are guaranteed against loss. And that you have to wrap your head around that. Know that that's a big selling point at this point. People that understand what's going on in the economy, not in the stock market, but in the economy, are very aware. That's what Tim was talking about. Had a guy pin me down when we were eating lunch in the hotel.
Some of you guys
were sitting there when this guy slid over, and
this was at our Super Saturday.
There in Alpharetta, and he was trying to get me. He was trying to lead me down a path because he thought I was involved with one of those things, right? And we were having our conference down there, and he was mad because we had access to the same lounge he did because of our diamond status, and we had people in there with us. Anyway, long story short, he's like, "Well, are you giving your people any protection?" I said, "All of my people have all kind of protection, even, and I went into this, but he wasn't prepared for me to have that answer. But he's a self-proclaimed economic expert, and he sees some downturn coming. So all that being said, we talk about IULs, index annuities, guarantees. It's great. The most aggressive model that Paul Dietrich has is considered moderate. If you look at the numbers, I won't go into that. So we have great protection and great products across the board. We're ready for this. The people that aren't ready for this are the people we haven't sat down with yet, the people we haven't addressed this with yet. So it's very important to keep the main thing, our prospecting and our getting out there and telling that story. Jody said it's going crazy across the country. We saw a little bit about what's going on and what they were doing up there, and what Kimberly and I talked about, and we noticed is that it's all about a crusade. It's all about a mission to financial literacy. And people are hungry for that. People are hungry for financial literacy across the board. So we have to be excited and stay excited about that. Now, all the way back to the annuity conversation. Why would somebody choose a 15% bonus over a 30% bonus? I don't know if any of you guys were in the room when we were having the Super Saturday or when we were at one of our last conferences. And you got F&G gets up there and they talk about their 15% bonus and they're excited about it and they're proud of it. And then the next thing you know is Nationwide and Annexus are up there talking about a 30% bonus. And everybody's like, well, this is a no-brainer. Why wouldn't I just go for the 30, right? So it's all about what your client is going to do with that pot of money, right? So the 30% bonus and the 15% bonus are incredibly different in the way they behave. So if I have a customer or client that says, I want to grow this money as much as I can because in 10 years or in 12 years, I'm going to take it out and I'm going to buy a property in, Costa Rica, and I'm going to do this, that, and the other with it, then I know that they're planning to spend that money in that annuity in lump sums. They're never going to annuitize, which means turn it into an income stream. But if I have another on the flip side that says, I've got $500,000 right here, and I know that I'm going to retire in 11 or 12 years, and I need to make this turn this $500,000 into income so that I don't ever outlive it. So you got the lump sum distribution, or the people that want to take it out in lumps. And then you've got the people that want to have the biggest, best income that they can possibly have. If I know that the client's going to take it out in lump sums, then I'm going to go with the 15% bonus from F&G. And I'll explain that in just a second to why that is. And if I know the client wants to get to turn that into an income stream and maximize that so that they never outlive it, I'm going to go with a 30% bonus from Annexus. And this is why. And I want you guys to understand there are big differences. It's like comparing an apple to an orange. They're both talking percentages and they're both calling themselves bonuses. But the way they're applied to the account is what changes everything. The F&G product, if I put in $100,000 today, I'm going to get a 15% credit where my account is now growing with 115,000 real actual dollars from day one. Understand that. I put in 100, they're going to give me a true 15% bonus on my capital. So now I have 115 that's growing. Got to follow all the rules and all that kind of stuff, but understand that concept. The Nationwide 30% bonus takes that same $100,000 and they say, we're going to give you a 30% bonus on that $100,000 over here in what they call an income bucket. The only way you get that 30% bonus and its sequential growth beyond that is if you turn on an income stream and you take it out a little bit over time. So I can't get that 30% bonus out and buy my house in Costa Rica and the bar that I want down there too at the same time. I have to take it out in the form of an income stream. So we talk about it in the term buckets, right? So we have the actual bucket of cash, where the 15% from F&G gives you an actual 15% deposit into your bucket. At the end of that 10-year period, if it's a 10-year surrender, that 100 grew to 115 in day one. It's going to grow for the next 10 years. The 115 is going to get credited all that it does, and you're going to be able to walk away with that money at the end of that term. On the other side, you will have a cash bucket in the Annexus annuity that'll tell you at every point in time what you can walk away with in cash. And you're going to have another number that's going to be your income bucket. So if I know that I'm going to draw an income, that's why I want to go with that Annexus Nationwide annuity, because I know I'm never going to take out that lump sum money. That number doesn't matter. The number that matters is how much is my income going to be based off of. So think about it from that perspective. When you understand, they're not apples to apples, bonus for bonus. It's an apple and an orange. They're applied differently and they're accessed differently. Does anybody have a question before I move on about what I just said? I'm happy to try to clarify if I didn't clarify. We'll go deeper into this stuff. We're talking about, we're live on YouTube right now. For those of you who don't realize that, you had to say you understood that in order to stay on the call. So we have got some plans to be going live in small groups talking about things just like this, bonus. And then those will all go to our YouTube page where you guys can go back and see them in those little short videos. Zach said something about this. How does this work? So if any of you want to see this again after this event, it'll be on our YouTube page here in 30 minutes or an hour or whatever that is.
Right now,
Um,
simultaneous.
It's live, but the replay will be available in full. It's simultaneously live. Yes. So, okay. I don't see any questions. I don't see hands raised. Anybody?
If you have any, you just have to unmute and ask. but-
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to move into my presentation. Had a lot of people ask questions. Several people asked for the presentation that I did at our Super Saturday in Alpharetta. So if you were there, you're going to see it again. You're going to get to hear it again. And we'll also have it here in this format so people can go back and access that later. So I can't guarantee that my language and my verbiage will be exactly the same that it was then, but it will. I've got to share my screen first from Zoom and then pull up my presentation. So all of this is also live on YouTube.
Mhm.
How to get started here. And all right. So you guys can see that. Jody, give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
Look
Yes.
good. All right. This is our mission. This is what we talk about all the time, is understanding that the world needs to know what they don't know. The average American population could listen to what I said earlier and could listen to what Tim said, and they would only know what the Yahoo headline was or what was running across the CNN or the Fox News or their chosen media outlet telling them things are great or things are bad. People don't plan to fail. They just fail to plan. And most of the time it's because they don't think they have enough to plan, or they don't think they need to. They think everything's smooth sailing. So we have two different houses that we want to help people build, right? We want them to build that emotional house at the same time we build a solid financial house, right? But what we want to do is we want to dissect the two, right? Happiness and financial success sometimes come together, but what makes you happy doesn't always make you financially successful. And what makes you, financially successful may not always make you happy, right? So they have to understand that how the two grow at the same time, a lot of times, they're not necessarily built the same way. When we talk about an actual house, right? The foundation of that house is the very first thing that we're going to do. We're going to go and we're going to clear the land. We're going to get ready, lay it out exactly like Hubert talks about. It's built 3 different times. It's built in somebody's mind. It's built on paper, and then it's actually built. Same things happens with the house itself. So I'm getting emotional about this house right now. This is going to be representing my emotional house. My financial house, if I try to do this from an emotional perspective and I sit down with a new client and I say, okay, what do you want to do? They're saying, well, I want to buy Envita stock, right? It's the greatest thing going. It's up 600% over the last 13 months. That's what I want to do. That's going to be fun, and I'm going to make a bunch of money. But they have no protection. I have to say that's going to be fun and we're going to get there, but we're going to work our way through building that house, right? So the first thing we're going to build is the foundation. So the first thing we're going to do is do some protection. What is protection? It's life insurance. It's, insurance across the board is protection. It means that my assets are protected and my family's financial success is protected whether I'm here or I'm not. So that's the protection piece. Next thing we're going to do is talk about debt. Tim mentioned we're in worse credit card debt in this country than we have ever been. Period. Bar none. Trillions with a T. And I don't have the exact numbers, but I can tell you that it's way up there. We've got to teach our people how to manage debt. That's the next step. So the foundation and then the debt management piece would be the walls, right? So now we're building the walls of this house so that we're protected from the elements. The next step is that emergency fund. The emergency fund means that if I have a problem, I don't go into debt. I have a set pot of money that I go and dip into. Emergency funds are more important now than they've ever been. The things that we considered stable, W-2 jobs, all those kind of things. When you see the moves happening in the market that are happening right now, the next thing that happens after those people sell off their own stock is they make an announcement that changes the value of said stock. Follow me there. So Amazon must have something going on inside that says, hey, something's not, he's selling off billions of dollars in stock right now for the first time that he's ever done it. I don't know. I'm not insider trading. I don't know what's going on inside there. So the next and final piece is the roof. It's the fun part. It means I'm getting ready to move in, right? So that's where people want to start a lot of times in the financial house, and we really have to walk them back and say, okay, that's great. And I tell people, if I invest, let's just say, what's our number that we go with all the time? So if I invest $300 a month for 60 months, how much money do I have? Somebody give me a calculator real quick. Hey,
18,000.
I got $18,000, right? So I'm managing the waiting room too, so forgive me. You guys, if you're coming in, I don't hear you, but make sure you mute yourself as you come in.
That
So
might show on your YouTube.
I've got $18,000. If I invest $300 for 60 months, I've got $18,000, right? I don't want to buy insurance. I want to invest. I want to do the fun stuff, right? Give me a mutual fund. Give me something that's going to grow. I don't want to buy insurance. Well, if I buy an IUL for $300 a month, and in 60 months, I might not have $18,000 in cash value. But what if something happens to me in month 61? My family is either going to get several $100,000 in death benefit, or they're going to get $18,300 plus a little bit of growth. You understand why protection is important to start with. Now, we have a Swiss Army knife that I'll talk about here in a few minutes that accomplishes a lot of this stuff at the same time. But we have to be able to separate the emotional house from the financial house. Now, what is protection? And I like to explain this so people can get kind of an idea of what insurance is. And I can't see my clock on here, so I'm just going to, pretend there's not one. Insurance does not protect my car. If I have car insurance, does it protect my car from getting into an accident? No. Does it protect my car against damage? No. What does it protect? I buy car insurance so that if I wreck my car, I don't have to reach into my assets to pay for that damage, right? I don't have to reach in. I don't have to, go tell, in this case, Mercedes-Benz Financial, sorry, I don't have a car anymore, so I'm not going to pay you anymore. That doesn't work that way, right? You still owe the money if you borrowed money against it. Same thing for a homeowner's insurance. If I buy insurance on my home, does it protect my home from storms? Does it protect my home from fire? No. It means that if I have a storm or we have a fire, I don't have to reach into my assets, liquidate my investments, the fun part, and go back and pay for those things. So insurance protects assets. So in the situation of a car or a home, we can put a value on it, right? We know that this, in this case, is 80,000, 900,000, but look at health insurance. Does health insurance keep me healthy? No, it's rhetorical, guys. You get the message. Health insurance, just like the other types that we've talked about, along with life insurance, don't protect that. Life insurance doesn't keep me from dying, right? It just protects my family in the event that I do, so that they don't reach into their assets and spend through them. But the one thing people don't insure, right? I've got my health insurance. I've got my homeowner's insurance. I've got my car insurance. But if I told you, or if you had a machine, this is where the emotional piece, if you had a machine in your garage that printed out $150,000 a year, not counterfeit money, real income, you just had to own this machine, it made $150,000 a year, would you insure that machine? Yes, you would insure that machine not only for this year, but if I lost that machine, I'd want to know that I had that money coming in for 10, 15, 20 years from now. That machine is yours and your spouse's or the other people in your lives' ability to contribute financially. That is their ability to earn an income. That is not an emotional decision, folks. If you have a household like most in the country that requires two incomes, or has one income and the other what to replace what the other non-income earning spouse does would cost considerably more financially. That's another big mistake people make when you're talking to them about insurance and protection needs as well. He brings in, or let's say she brings in $300,000 a year, and he's Mr. Mom, right? I'd have died for that job a few years ago. Now we barely have anybody at home anymore. But at that point in time, what that parent does, or that partner does, taking cars to and from practices and to and from schools and making the grocery store runs and all those kind of things, that has a definite value. Those are not emotional. the fact that if you lost your spouse, you would be emotionally devastated in most cases. That's not related. And there's no amount of money that can replace them, right? So stop thinking about it from that perspective. And the funniest thing, and you've heard it before now, if you haven't, you will hear it plenty of times, is if I'm gone, they can find somebody else that can fill that gap financially. I'm not going to buy $1 million worth of life insurance so she can find a sugar daddy that just wants to spend that money. It's not an emotional discussion. It's not an emotional decision. So there's the money machines. You even forget what my own slides say. Would you insure it? Of course. Now, let's talk about the XCurve, and let's talk about what we do and how we do it. So traditionally, whenever I sit down with somebody, we're talking about what happens if I live and also what happens if I die. We want to make sure that this curve is taken care of on both sides of that. Like I say, self-completing. I want my clients' plans to be self-completing, whether they complete them themselves or the plan does it itself, right? So the XCurve basically talks about the concept that when you're young and you're starting out, you have less assets and more liabilities, right? And on the flip side, if we do our job, when you get older, you'll have more assets and fewer liabilities. But we want to protect that wealth, right? So early on, high responsibilities. This is basically taking you through what if I die too soon? What happens? I got $100,000 in credit card debt and other loans, $1 million to income replace for 10 years. I make $100,000 a year. My mortgage balance is $400,000. And assuming today $50,000 a year times 2 kids for 4 years of college, this is an average, family with kids that want to go to college. That's $400,000 in educational expenses. So that says right now, if I'm in this situation, then my insurance need is $1.9 million. Does that make sense? Yes. A lot of times people they don't protect their debt, their credit card debt with insurance. They'll have mortgage protection insurance, or they'll say, I have $500,000 life insurance. I'm good. I'm not worried about it. If I'm not here, my kids will get financial aid. So I'm not going to do college. I got $500,000 of life insurance. Am I good? What's the one thing they forgot to insure? The money machine, that $1 million of income replacement. So term insurance at this point can do a lot of this. It's very affordable. I usually do 2 policies. We'll talk about that in a small piece later. I want to get to what a lot of people want me to talk about, which is how the IUL performs. I would use an IUL in this situation, and then I would finish covering the gap with term insurance. Building wealth with responsibility, meaning make sure you've got your responsibilities taken care of before you start getting greedy and trying to just buy all the investments, right? Don't get emotional about it. Now, in retirement, these are the things that we're working with here. I'm gonna see if I can hide that all together, get it out of my way. 401ks, stocks, IRAs, all these kind of things. Money under the mattress. When do we want to retire? How much do we need in retirement? These are the questions that we want our plan to be able to complete on its own. How will market risks affect my retirement? A lot of people asking that question right now, right? We probably brought up questions for you guys as we went through the first 3 pieces of the meeting. Will I pay taxes during retirement? If so, how many people I've sat down with that don't realize that when they take money out of their 401k, they have to pay income tax on it? That just don't get it. They don't know it. So we have to teach people those kind of things. What's the impact of my taxes during retirement? Well, I'm going to show you about that here in just a second. But retirement cannot be a gamble. You have to ask all these questions of yourself and of your own plan, and you have to learn how to ask these questions of your prospects if you're going out and sitting down with them, because these are the questions they need to know the answers to, and you need to help them find those answers to, so that it's not a gamble, it's a math problem. Tax-free retirement is one of the things that we teach. There are things that we've seen and we've shown at our conferences where you can get to the 0 tax bracket. Mauricio is going to do some of his stuff that he's done before in the coming weeks on one of these Wednesday calls to really dive into this. But what I want to do is show you that there's really 3 buckets of tax treatment. There's tax now on your funds, which is traditional banks, stocks, mutual funds. If I earn a rate of return, I get a 1099 at the end of the year. I pay tax on that dollar amount. The next one is what most people use, and they think it's the best thing in the world because they don't understand it fully. And these do have a place. We'll talk about that too. So I'm not saying that these are all bad. I'm just saying that this is how they're treated from a tax perspective. 401ks, IRAs, and a lot of annuities, you put in before tax dollars. Your principal's protected in some cases, or it's not protected, but it's all going to be taxed. We're talking about taxation. These are taxable. These tax now, these are taxed later. The big thing people don't understand about the tax deferred bucket is that when you get to the end of the day and you start pulling that tax out, that's the biggest gamble that you're putting your retirement out there for, is we don't know what the tax rates will be. We have no idea. And the third bucket is tax advantaged, Roth IRAs, municipal bonds, and life insurance. Roths are great. You can do Roth 401ks. It's all a whiz bang word. We can teach you all about that. But number 3 right there is life insurance, and it checks all those green boxes. You put in after tax dollars, gross 100% tax free. So I'm paying tax now to avoid paying it later, right? But I don't have to pay it later on any of my growth. See, in my 401k, and I'll show you a number here in a minute, I put in pre-tax dollars now to not pay tax on that money, but I have to pay tax on that money and all the growth as ordinary income down the road. No penalties. I can do whatever I want. I can retire when I want if I use these types of strategies on the far right-hand side. So some of this information will be duplicate because I'm going to talk about that right now. Now, I have got how many minutes?
15. You're fine.
15 minutes. Good. So this again, and I use this analogy a lot, is comparing apples and oranges because these two types of products behave differently in a lot of different ways. But right now, what I'm going to talk to you about is if I take these two and I compare them side by side based on how they accumulate funds and how I'm able to distribute those funds on the backside, I can explain big differences between these. So brother A is the old way. So signed up, went to the HR department, signed up for his 401k, said, you know what, I'm going to do my 401k. I'm going to put in $6,700 a year. You guys match me. This is actually a quarter on a dollar. So match money's free money. I'm never upset about free money. I just would prefer to take it at $1 per dollar match. So here, this is a situation where I probably would not take this match. He needs life insurance at that point, but he's like, I'm young. I don't want cash value life insurance. I don't want to pay the premiums. I'm going to buy a term policy for $250,000. So his out of pocket annually for his 401k plus his insurance is $7,200 a year. Brother B read a couple of books, might have talked to some crazy people like you guys out there that are telling this story and said, you know what, I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to go this way. And I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to buy an index universal life. I'm going to put $7,200 a year into that, and I'm going to strip it down where it's maximum cash growth and minimum face amount, right? And all this will be done by your advisor. If you haven't had this done and you don't know what's going on, you're not supposed to get all you have information from this presentation to buy this. This is a training presentation, not a sales pitch presentation. Understand that. Who made the right decision? Looking at this, you're like, I don't know. Tell me, who made the right decision? Results after 30 years. So after 30 years, I showed you the assumed rates of return on the previous slide that we were going over. Brother A, after 30 years, this is what he looks like. My 401k's got a $700,000 value, 708. My principal's still subject to market fluctuations, right? That's one of the biggest downfalls of the 401k generations so far is the timing of when you need to pull that money out. Principal's not guaranteed and my gains aren't locked in. If the market goes down 65% tomorrow and this guy doesn't make a change, that 708,000 gets cut by 65%. So big difference. Zero term insurance. At this point, he's 30 years older. Term insurance is going to be incredibly expensive to replace. So he's probably going to move into the rest of life without term insurance or without insurance at all, or a lot less protection. Over that 30-year time period, he's estimated by paying in that pre-tax money and not paying tax on those contributions. We estimate that he saved about $65,000 in tax over that 30-year period on those contributions, right? So let's compare Brother B line by line. Brother B's got $619,000 in cash value inside his index universal life. Principal's protected. It's not subject to market fluctuations, and all of his gains are locked in. Not too bad. He also has, at that point in time, $842,637 life insurance benefit with living benefits. And I ran this on a Corebridge, prior to Corebridge, it was an AIG policy. So I can run these numbers on any different platform. But he didn't have any savings at all in tax. So a lot of people would look at this and they'd say, Brother A's got more money than Brother B, and Brother A saved $65,000 in taxes, right? So who won on this slide? Which plan makes you feel more financially secure? Well, I'm not sick, so I'm not really worried about the death benefit. So that's the question. But now here's the real kicker, and this is why it's important to understand how these things work all the way through. During retirement, so we had how they started, how they looked at retirement age, and now how do these two vehicles perform differently during retirement? Brother A, he's got $708,000 to draw from. He needs a $55,000 a year after-tax income. He's going to take out $70,000 a year from that 401k because he's got to pay tax at ordinary income rates, and he's going to pay $15,000 a year in tax to walk away with that $55,000 net income. Now, because when you take money out of a 401k to live off of it, it has drained by that much. So he, based on all these calculations, would have run out of money after 17 years, no income, no assets, no life insurance, right? No accelerated death benefit. That's where 95% of people are living with their money. Understand that, is in that qualified fund bucket. Brother B still got less money, right? $619,000 cash value. He wants a $55,000 a year annual income. He's going to borrow that from his cash value and his IUL tax-free, because according to the IRS, proceeds from a loan are not taxable. He is borrowing money from his life insurance policy, 0% income tax. After 30 years, Brother B still has over $455,000 in cash value at age 95. Also, he has a $498,000 death benefit and living benefits, all going on at the same time. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep. You have to remember the drawdown, and I could go into the math and the way that it works, but basically the reason that this money is never taxed on the backside, I'll cut to the chase. Your death benefit at the time you pass pays off the loans that you've borrowed, but your death benefit proceeds are tax-free. Your loans were tax-free. Therefore, that piece of income was never taxed. That's why his death benefit is $455,000 instead of the cumulative of those two, because the loans would have to be paid back at that point in time. Some of you might not have that question, but I get it a lot. So we'll hit this line by line item here, because the last one is where a lot of people object. And a lot of times I'd go through this, I'd say, Brother A wins $700,000. Brother A wins $65,000 in savings. Brother A wins. He's going to have a $70,000 a year income. Brother B loses. Brother B wins the next one. Zero income tax. Net income's the same. It's a tie, right? Brother A, 17 years at zero. Brother B, 30 years and still going. Here's the number one objection that I get from people is, okay, so I paid for insurance. I had policy costs. I had all these other kind of costs that were associated with that, whereas brother A didn't, right? So I did that calculation for this illustration. Over that life of that policy, they paid in. I don't know who's not muted, but if we could just mute, that'd be awesome.
Participants at the bottom, and you can see it really fast. Right there. Participants.
Yeah, I think we got it. Okay. So finish this up real quickly. Brother B had $173,000 in policy costs. But remember, they saved $65,000 for Brother A over a 30-year accumulation period. Over a 17-year drawdown period, they paid $255,000 in taxes. Now, there's a reason Uncle Sam loves the 401k, and it's because it's their future revenue. They know exactly how much money is behind the tax wall and who's at what age. It's a calculation that's used in budgeting and planning for the government at this point in time, because they know exactly how those things work. So yeah, I paid $173,000 for my plan to be self-completing instead of paying $255,000 to the government for no apparent reason at all. I will wrap up with that right now and open it up for any questions about what I just went over. Again, remember, this is not a sales tool. This is a training tool. We use it to sell when we explain to people that there are different ways to invest and different things to do. So, Jody, welcome.
Thank you. No, it was fantastic as always. And guys, it's interesting. Just in the editorial side, we're all part of a team here, and we've all chosen to support each other, and that means being on the calls. And even if it's something you've heard a couple of times, it's still great to be here and I learn something every single time. I really do. I try to listen as a consumer. I try to find better ways to articulate what it is that we do. And if you ever think that you got it down, then you're probably you probably need to listen. That's when you probably need to grow the most. But having said that, anybody have any questions? This is a chance. We got a few minutes to as we finish this up.
I want to say one thing while people are
Sure.
coming up with their questions. Remember, this is just one product, guys, and it is a fantastic one. But our two big products that we offer at HGI are the opportunity and the needs analysis. So if you go out and talk about how great this product is to somebody that it doesn't really work for, then you're going to have some backtracking and you may lose them as a client across the board. So remember, this is so you have the knowledge and the confidence to know how these products work, not so that you can go out and if you're in the, if you're in the millennials, a Gen Z group, you can talk about this product all day long, and half of them are going to want to listen to you, and they're going to actually not do what we've done for the last 30 or 40 years. So, but it's when you get into the Gen X and the baby boomers and all those kind of folks, the IUL is a little different application in those worlds. So it's either time and money or less time and a lot of money to throw at it. That would be the way that I would tell you to think about it. So just wanted you to remember our two main products are the analysis and the plan that we offer free of charge, and the opportunity that can give them the ability to make more money than they've ever dreamed of.
Hey, Zach.
Yes, I hear
Elaine.
Elaine. Is that you?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm in my car, but where is that 15-minute video that you do about 401? I found the longer one, but I couldn't find the little one, and I want somebody to watch it.
Okay.
I think it's unqualifiedme.com.
Yeah,
Okay.
unqualifiedme.com should take you directly
Perfect.
to it. If not, I'll give you the link to that.
I didn't look there, so that's good. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. James.
Yeah, real quick, on the Brother A, on that last slide before you shut everything out, you had posted 255,000 he paid in taxes. Can you break that down again on how you achieved that number?
Yeah, so remember he's taking out 70,000 a year and only getting 55 of it. So that's 15,000 times those 17 years before he goes broke, and that puts you at 55,000.
Got it.
So yeah, it's just his income tax, and
that's assuming a constant tax rate over 15 years. But like you mentioned before, the tax rate has not gone down once since 1982, since the 401k came out. So
absolutely, and that's a whole nother story. But yeah, you're exactly right. That is assuming level returns on the front end, and it's also assuming level tax rates on the back end. So there's a lot of assumptions that go into that. That's why it's not a client concept. It's a concept. That's why it's not a client approved sales piece. We use our actual illustrations based on their situation and our needs analysis to give them a plan to get them where they want to go. But yeah, that's exactly where that number came from, is hypothetically, tax rates never changed, income never changed, and that would be the tax that he would pay. So,
and I think we should add a third brother to this, where he joins WFG. He joins HGI. He joins the incredible business, and he builds like incredible business like Zach and Kim. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, that when you can throw more money at it, it totally changes everything.
And feel free to have it called Sister A and Sister B if you are so inclined.
No, sisters would have all been B. That's the thing. None of them would have made the A choice.
That's true.
Smart.
Listen, guys, as you go through here, you can pick out little principles on here, but literally this whole thing really comes off of a napkin presentation. To be honest with you, we put it in a little form to show it with pretty pictures, but the whole thing really, Aki, just so you're all about people see how much production and premium they've done. They do this exact presentation, and they do not do it in a PowerPoint. They most all the time draw it out, what he just showed you, which was literally the XCurve, showing the four components of what you need inside of a of a plan that said, hey, what if we could show you a plan that has all that in one place? That's the whole deal. So what you've seen is a peek behind the curtain, and it's tremendous, and it's conceptual. And remember this: when you're talking to somebody, you're there to disturb them. You're there to cause them to move, to make them feel that they need to go find some things they didn't know, to make them feel uncomfortable that they're not where they need to be. And that's the power of that presentation. Any other questions? It's your
James,
chance
any-
to ask some questions.
I have a question again. And I heard this on Saturday, but I haven't repeated it because I want to make sure I heard it right. But somebody that Saturday said that no dollar has gone into a 401k since 1982 that has come out with a lower tax rate.
Yeah,
Zach
tax
said
rate.
that.
Yeah, I said that tax brackets were at their historically bottom point at that point in time. Now, people's tax brackets do change, but the tax rates overall have done nothing but go up. So the theory behind the 401k was I'm going to defer taxes at a high point. It was started in the 1970s when taxes were, the top tax bracket was 72%, I think. I'm going to defer a 72% tax on my income on this piece of it so that later on I'll pay it at a lower tax bracket. Well, from 1972, I think, to 1980, I'm spitballing the numbers, so don't send me a message and say I was wrong later. In about a 10-year span, the tax brackets that people were getting taxed went from their highest point in history to their lowest point in history. And since then, we've been switching everything over to 401ks, and the tax brackets have consistently been climbing. So understanding that we're dealing with a tool that was designed in a proper time frame. We've just held on to it so long, and it's time to look at other options.
You know what, Zach, man, I tell you what, I think we might really be onto something here, because guys, when buy term and invest difference came out, it was exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, you could mathematically prove every case from 1980 to 1990 that every human being should go buy term and invest the difference elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But since that time, there are other products and other factors that have changed that makes it to where that is not always the right answer. So that's a great point. I mean, it's a very, very important point, and hanging on to those products, that's a great way. That's a great way to put it. So I think that's a great.
And I think that long unqualified me lane, a lane that's on Vimeo, I think is where it is, has that 45-minute presentation. The whole beginning of it is that education of the history behind it.
Yeah.
Because when you sit down, it's very simple. And this is one of those things where you really want to ask questions. When you're talking to somebody, kind of get how they feel, because even over in the Duluth office, which is Indian centric with a pretty very sharp group of people, they're shocked, and people think, they do think still that a 401k is somehow the government's retirement plan. It's not. It's not. And they also, a lot of people do believe that it somehow has some guarantees, and there is none. It's just based on, what the place is. So this is some good stuff. So thank you guys. We're going to go ahead and end it. Appreciate you being on. Just once again, I want you to understand that what we're providing on Wednesdays is we're hoping it to become, or at least half this presentation, are real life case studies. If you email us in advance case studies, questions, specific questions, we will answer those from this expert panel. And I think that's an incredible opportunity for you to use it. So thank you,
You don't
guys.
have to have a license to gather data.
That's exactly
one
right.
more shout out, because we are live on YouTube.